usual, I'm the responsible one. We did meet.
I'm not.
I was your boss.
Wait, are we recording right this? Have we started?
Oh, yeah. Is that okay? I forgot to send you the waiver. Is it okay if we record this episode?
No. But wait, no, is this like, have we started? Very valid question. Have we started?
Yes. Because you were
Oh.
on, but you weren't.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome to Coffee and Crystals with
There we
my
go.
father, Marc Manali. What is Marc McNamara? I don't even know how to say it. All these years, I've never asked.
McNamara is like my work name, but with this new project that I'm doing, they're going to use my real name, which is Marc Manali. So, like, it's still Mark. So you can just say, Mark,
With a C.
hey, 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 you.
Daddy.
Wait, is that my grandma's? Is that my
No.
grandmother's scarf
Yes.
on your head?
I was actually like, I wish we were together because I didn't know what to wear, but I was like,
Oh, I love
gotta
it.
support the grannies of our tribe.
That's right.
But seriously, some ground rules because, like I said, when we started, even though we didn't get started, I was your boss when we first met. So I have learned over the years that you need to be managed.
Got it.
So in the past, you have texted my employees and my boss that I was horny. So there are some
One person found out you were horny, and let
a
me just
very
say they
important
already
person.
knew.
Who does
They
that?
already.
Has anybody done that to their friend before and like actually think that that was a good idea at 3 a.m. to tell that person's boss that they were horny? Like, could you imagine being on the other end of that? My boss who got that and woke up the next
If
morning was
someone-
like, Katie's in New York this weekend, and I get this
Mama.
random text from her that she's horny. I was so mad at
You're
her.
asking the wrong person. If someone texts me that they're horny, I'm like, thank you.
Coming right over.
Well received, loud and clear. Thanks, Mom.
Okay, anyway, so back to ground rules. I am a professional, and this is, a spiritual and wellness podcast, so no Cabo stories. That's like my one ground rule. Like, we can bring up Cabo,
Oh, so
but
you
it
could
has
just
to be-
embarrass me, but
Exactly.
I can't switch
It's
a
a
room and
my
say,
show.
oh, well, let me tell you what happened when Katie was drunk. That's fine. You know what? It's your show.
It's my
Whatever
show.
you say.
No Cabo stories, and just like lose the attitude.
Ah.
Do you have a good relationship with your dad? Do you and your dad argue like you and I?
So I assume we're talking daddy issues today. So, like,
What are you trying to say? That was
I'm
just like a
just like-
clever name.
what?
Yeah.
Cluing in.
Okay,
Listen,
I think it's
for
time.
those
I think it's time that
coffee
we
and
talk about my
crystals,
daddy issues.
here's what you need to know about me. I also have a podcast and I'm a director. So if I seem to be overwhelming and like steering the ship, that's just because that's what I do for a living. So you just have to say, Mark, shut the fuck up. I'm fucking this cat. You're just holding the legs.
So weird. You always say the weirdest things. Like
That's what
sometimes,
Bianca Del Rio saying, first off.
well, I don't follow her as closely. I love your cup. That's one of my favorite ones. But yes,
See?
we
Dad.
are going to talk about daddy issues because I think, for one, the issue between our relationship to people who don't know us is people are genuinely confused. They're like, wait, hold on. Is he your dad?
Mhm.
So I guess we could start there, or we just start with your dad. We'll kind of go down the lineage. How's your relationship with your dad?
It's great. It's great right now. We're not like super close, but there's a lots of love there, and we talk on the phone and like when I'm there. But there have been moments where I've been okay. So I had to. How deep do you want me to go here?
I feel
So I'll
like we
go
gotta
back.
go deep because I feel like we gotta dig into my childhood trauma today with daddy
Okay.
issues. Since you're my dad. So you first.
I was born on Anna Maria Island. It's a small little island. So I was, everything that I did was very insular to like a small group of people. And my dad is a fisherman. And so I spent a lot of time out on the boats with him, but he was also gone a lot. Like, never came to any of my soccer games, wasn't
Played
super
soccer?
involved for 10 years.
I played soccer. We've never
Really?
played soccer together.
We
I
should
almost
go
said we
kick some
gotta
balls.
shoot some hoops, but you're right. Oh, and you're wearing Adidas.
It's been a
All
while.
day I dream about sex.
That's right. I just got this yesterday from the Adidas in Soho.
But really, though, doesn't that stand for all day I dream about soccer?
How dare
Anyway,
you
carry
embarrass me. And so when my parents divorced, I chose to live with
Your
my
parents
dad.
are divorced?
Oh my God.
Not not even kidding. I did not know this. I know nothing
What?
about you. How long have I known you?
Sit back and
We
enjoy
got to
the
talk
ride
about you
then.
more. This is great. This is great. So, okay. Oh my God.
I
I'm
chose to live with my
understanding
dad
you
because
so
he
much
was
more
never there.
now.
Oh my God. You just ask the questions and I'll be here to answer them.
Blah, 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 blah. Got divorced. Did not know this. How old were you?
Probably 10.
Okay.
10. I was always very, there's a point I'm saying this because that kind of made me to be very independent because I chose to move in with him and he was never, around. So I would always do like my own cooking, my own cleaning, my own laundry, all that from like a very young age. And I think that made me very independent of my parents at an earlier age than some like traditional nuclear families. So growing up and getting older and then like, some of the gals that he was dating, I really didn't get along with. So there were years and
Really?
patches in there where I didn't talk to my father for sure. And been, we've definitely fought hard. Like I have screamed at him, I will dog walk you, bitch. And he didn't know what that meant, but that was a funny
I
moment
don't
for me
know what
that
that means, but I wouldn't want you to do that. No, actually, maybe I would.
I
Daddy.
will dog walk you, bitch.
Scary.
I mean, we're Sicilian. So I think that we are fiery. We love hard. We
You
fight
think?
hard. Not a mean person. I never will go out of my way to be mean to anybody. But if I see if there's an injustice or if I feel like someone is doing something wrong, I will definitely stand up for myself. And I'm also very protective. I think I have also, because of that, become very fatherly and very nurturing. And here's the thing, though. I don't want kids, but here's what kids are good for because my sisters have kids and I've traveled with kids. If you want to skip a line, get a kid. You don't have to wait for shit for that kid. You'll get on a plane first. You skip. They don't even like give you here. I'm going to upgrade you to clear today. Just get on out of here with that kid.
Is that why you keep
Like,
me around?
I tell you
You
what,
skip the line?
kids are great for skipping lines. Everyone will give you whatever you want if you have a little baby in
I
your
feel like
arms.
my mom visits my sisters more because they have kids. So I guess you get more family visits if you have a child.
Don't do it though. I don't know. I don't think it's a great idea for
You used to
kids.
want kids though. I think there was a moment where I was running around saying that I
Mm.
was going to have your kid.
Yeah, and I have dogs instead.
Janet, Jan.
Yeah, I don't. It just seems like a lot that you have to give up. I'm not ready to give up Mark so much. Like I have a lot to do still.
I
I can't
know, you're
be
so
like
busy.
I can't be like worrying about little baby arachnid.
Okay, so wait, back to dad. This is so interesting. So did you not grow up with your sisters? So if you picked to live with your dad, where were the sisters?
They live with mom.
Okay, so how often did you see everyone? You had a big
Uh,
family. You came from a big family. How many sisters
yeah,
and
I
brothers?
have four sisters and a brother.
Okay, so who lived with who?
Well, so when that was happening, there was only four of us, three sisters and me. The My other sister and brother came from my mom's second marriage. So it was only four of us at that
Organize
point.
this properly. I am
I know.
feeling kind of bad.
No, I mean, it wasn't like forever that I lived with them, but
Let's be honest, everyone that's listening, he's not actually my dad. My sister, my older sister, Sarah Scar, we used to visit Mark a lot before I moved to New York, and I lived in New York. Sarah used to come over, and it just seemed to always happen around either Columbus Day or Father's Day. So it would just be weird to call you Columbus. So we went with dad.
I didn't even know that was an option.
We were always like in the Columbus protest in New York. It's like it just seemed to be a common theme of when I was there, but it's because your birthday is in October, so that's why we were always around at that time.
Yeah, October 8th. Um,
Oh, that's why you said I should come in on October 8th. I was like, what's going on
wow.
October 8th?
I have known you for like 20 years and I feel like we have just met today.
I know this is why I wanted you on the show.
I'm Mark.
Get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, Manali or McNamara, whichever one, whatever, how dirty.
Got
If
it.
you're feeling dirty, Google McNamara. If you're feeling daddy, Google Manali.
I've never done this. I'm going to do this.
Don't.
So tell the listeners what you do for a living.
Well, I own a production company and that production company gets hired by an adult film studio, Falcon Naked Sword, and I produce and direct and write and film and photograph gay porn. But on top of that, I've been doing that since 2008. So I've
Oh
seen
my
a lot.
goodness.
I've seen a
Lots of
lot of
babies.
slits and circles. And I also host a podcast called Discretion Advised with me and John Hill from Radio Andy of the Bravo World, and a spinoff show, Discretion Advised Uncut, with Diego Sanz on Patreon. And I am about to start filming a new TV show called Marc Manali's Hot Tub Games that will be coming out sometime in September or early October, where we take a pop culture icon, housewife, or whatever, pin them against a porn star in a series of ridiculous games. It's basically the show that I
So
do on
you.
Fire Island. I also host a show, a live show in Fire Island every month at the Pavilion. So a lot is on Dad's plate, and I love it that way.
I love this. So again, because we're just getting to know each other after how many years of friendship?
Mark.
Do you know? Because I don't. How many years we've known each other?
Um, to 20 years, because we met in 2004, I believe, when
Okay.
I transferred to Florida State University from the University of Hawaii. I
You
met
went to
you.
University of Hawaii?
Oh my fucking God.
Really never knew this. I didn't even know you
Yes.
went to Hawaii. You were supposed to go to Hawaii with me and never made it. It's because you went to college there. You didn't need to go back.
I'm actually going in a couple weeks.
Are you lying? Is this real?
I'm going to Maui at the end of September. Yeah.
Okay, but you did actually go to school in Hawaii?
University of Hawaii at Manoa and Honolulu. And I worked at the Nike town in Honolulu. And you had to learn
Literally did
Japanese in
not
order to
know
sell
this.
things because predominantly your customers were Japanese. So saizu wa means what size are you?
I'm honestly I'm a little thrown off that I'm ashamed of myself right now. Like, how do I not know these facts about you?
Why don't you tell me about you? Why don't we go over you
Well,
instead?
I really
Why don't
was
you check in with yourself right now?
I really feel like I do, but I do think that a lot of our beginning of our relationship kicked off in a very wild, unstable time in my life. And sometimes,
Yeah,
you
called
know,
college.
some of the same people are in our lives, but I definitely think you're one of the longest friends that I've had. And we've gone through definitely different chapters in our lives. What would you say is one of your favorite memories of me? And again, it can't be an embarrassing one. We can only embarrass you.
Well, let me first off say this, that to your listeners who follow you, you have great taste because Katie is amazing. She is just like this tried and true, loyal. She's got such a good heart. So everything that you approach, like you have such like you're such a good soul. Like however that was made, whether it was made from your trauma growing up and like your daddy issues, whatever recipe that went on to make you who you are today is like chef's kiss recipe because you are just this absolute firecracker that is like based off of this just beautiful soul who is always working hard, generous, always taking care of other people, always taking care of the situation, and always will find the best in everybody and everything. And the positive outlook that you continue to just like emote is just it keeps me going in times that I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this. I think what would Katie do? Katie would just get up and keep going. So it's like just keep swimming, just keep swimming. And so that as a whole, just who
That's
you
my new
are,
trailer.
just who you are is just like this amazing. I'm so lucky to be around and grow with you as human beings for the past 20 years and see the woman who you become from this sorority girl fun, uh, let loose moments that we had going to college and drinking and to this person now who's just so grounded and spiritual, but like in the most non-dogmatic way. Like you believe in what you believe, but you don't force those beliefs on anyone else. You just share and let people make their own paths and you just like illuminate the way. Like, hey, here's a great way to go. Go however you want.
My gosh, so you really paid attention to me the last 20 years.
Apparently, I was busy talking about you for the last 20 years and didn't tell you anything about myself.
So when you were filming for, because you've been on a show before, what was the name of the show on MTV?
Which one?
Okay, so
There's been
I
more than
don't know
one.
anything about you, so
Obviously, I was on True Life,
obviously,
and
right?
Gay for
Totally.
Pay because they were following us. And then I'm on Below Deck coming up.
My
We'll start in
gosh,
October
cool.
on Bravo.
Well, we were filming for something that never ended up getting aired, and I just kept being clips of me telling everyone what a weird guy you are. But now, like, I'm
Yes.
ready. I'm ready for the to be on the show, and I have facts now. You know, you've been through a lot of trauma. You were part of a divorced family.
Oh, I mean, who
You went
isn't?
to college in Hawaii.
Oh, who didn't?
No, but you really are one of the coolest. Like, we've had the most fun together. I feel like I always belly laugh with you. Like, we will just laugh and laugh and laugh, doing nothing but just sitting on the roof all day long. Like, everyone's always like, "What'd you do in New York?" It's like we did a bike ride, went to
Laughed.
Starbucks, had an acai bowl,
Yeah. Oh my
sang
God.
some
Well,
Alicia Keys.
you came, when was the last time you came here to New York on a
20 minutes.
layover? You were literally at my house for 20 minutes and then headed back to the airport.
That was an expensive visit.
But as soon as you came off that elevator, we put the confetti cannons and exploded them everywhere.
I
It
can't
was a good
believe how long
time.
it's been since I've been there for 20 minutes.
I know.
I'm
It's been a long
coming this
time.
fall.
Well, I would love you to come at the beginning. I'm not sure when it is, September, when we're taping these shows, but we're taping 2 episodes of this new TV show. I would love for you to be in.
Oh my God, I have to make it happen. So we're gonna make that happen.
Hmm.
Okay, I want to talk about some hard times because I feel like um in the last 20 years, I'd say you knew me, COVID, divorce, some exciting times like graduation of yoga school, graduation of college. I thought it was really fun that you are kind of part of my love for New York. Like, I grew up getting to know that part of my family since I didn't grow up with my older sister and my mom. New York was always a place that the Chronister girls would get together and make memories. And it's really cool that when you moved there, you got to be a part of not only the Katie and Mark chapters, but a big part of my family, hence the joke that you were my dad and used to be married to my mom. But you're just like a real New
Happily.
Yorker. So I feel like, what do you love most about New York? I know that seems like such a corny question, but I feel like if you don't live in New York and if you don't understand New York like a New Yorker, then people just don't understand because people are like, "Oh, New York is intense. I could never live in New York." And then I'll be like, "Oh, have you been?" They've like maybe been twice or not gone at all, but then have such a strong opinion about how they couldn't last there. And I'm like, "Yeah,
Then
with that
don't.
with that mindset, you probably wouldn't." But what do you think it takes? I'll reframe the question. What do you think it takes to be a New Yorker?
I can answer those two in one because it's the same. It's the same answer, really. It's what I love about New York and what I feed off is the energy. I get so much inspiration from being here. My world expands exponentially when I'm here in New York because I'm exposed to so much more than I left New York for a couple years and lived in Miami, and like my career started slowing down, my inspiration, my creativity started slowing down because I wasn't on the streets of New York being inspired by all the people that are here, seeing ads absolutely everywhere, like the design, the art, the creativity and every corner of the city just like inspires me. And I think it takes that type of person to love it here who likes it's sensory overload to a lot of people, but if you're able to filter that out to what you need, like a plant like filters food and photosynthesis, we can be photosynthesisters. Like this
Science.
is yeah, it's basically I like it. I like New York because of science. Thank you, judges.
All right. Mic drop.
No, it gives me such inspiration, and you have to be that type of person who likes to go, 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 and like constantly learn. New York is such a place to learn. You're always going to learn from different cultures and different people. Whereas you go to a smaller town, which, where I'm from, you do a lot of teaching. And even at 41 years old, I just love learning so much. So I love being in New York to keep growing and learning.
I love that. So there's like two things you said because we are entering Virgo season, which is the season of learning and really applying your disciplines and being detail oriented. So just like obviously I just asked you, well, we've been talking about you being on the show since I met you 20 years ago, but we finally made time for it. Welcome, my best friend, everyone, and
Hi.
father. But first,
Finally.
I
What
asked you
season are
about
we on? How
Virgo.
many times you been on my goddamn show?
I know, right? This is actually kind of good thing you made such a nice speech about me because I look like such an awful friend.
No, you're
But
lovely.
just rewind and listen to that again. How great I
Katie is lovely.
am. But I think like New York does like toughen skin. But I think what you said that I've been really thinking about in this like Virgo season is we're coming out of Cancer season, which was my birthday month, where you really need to like root down, worry about your home, get organized, spend time with community or friends or family. That's kind of like that season of fun, longer days. And then you head into Leo season where it's just like lights, camera, action, like get into that lion, like confidence era. And then you start to slow down a little bit. Fall is coming. You know, it gets windier outside and it's not full force like Kapha season is what we call it in yoga and Ayurvedic is like the slower winter period, but you do
Mm.
start to slow down. Otherwise, you'll kind of get caught up in all that wind and airiness that this season brings. So I did think
I'd
it was
slow
cool.
down right now.
Slow down, smoke some weed. But getting into like an area where you can actually put things in place. And I think you said that New York is like you have to set yourself up in areas and environments that are going to be good for you. Because I think like even when you go to the gym, it's not necessarily always about the workout that takes place. It's about being in the right environment. And I think that anytime I'm around you, I become more creative. I've become more full of joy and happy and light. And I think that that's like one of your biggest gifts. Obviously, you're a director, so you're like, you do this, but you're really good at that. And I think one of my favorite things that I decided that I love about my podcast is like being able to decide who comes on your show. Like it's the recruiter in me, like the casting part. So I feel like so many people want to start a podcast and then they don't get started because they just like can't organize the process. So anyone that might be like writing a movie or being on a show, any type of show, like a podcast or, you know, a TV personality, what do you think is a big tip to just get started and to start writing the show?
I want to go back and touch on something that you said there about like being in the right place to grow. I think it's similar to a plant in a way. Like some plants are indoor plants, some are outdoor plants, some are partial sun, and not everybody grows with the same soil. So you really have to root yourself in where you found out you can grow best in, and that's going to be different for everybody. So for like us being around each other and being New York is where the soil that we need to grow. And in order to like start the podcast and just like do it, that's a tough one because I want to say just like go ahead, just start it, just do it. But the director in me like is such a planner. Like I know where I'm going before I leave the house. Like I don't get on a flight unless it's going to land. So I need to know what the plan is. Like who is my audience? Who am I talking to? And that's also something that you'll find along the way. But try to offer something that's not already being offered. What do you have? What every person is so unique that you and everyone who's listening has something super unique. Tap into what that is and then offer that to the world.
I love that because honestly, that's something that I feel like I'm in a season that I can be more confident on. I mean, I love my story. There's not too many regrets I have, except for some of our wild stories that we're not allowed to talk about, maybe in my
You
life.
want to fuck
But
on me?
yeah, but I think one of my superpowers is, as my sisters and I, we just didn't grow up with tools and resources. So
Right.
I joined this world in a survival mode real quick. Like even when I was in my mom's wound,
Ooh.
it was a little wounded. But
Yikes.
seriously, though, like her trauma and her survival and the stress that was happening in her life, I literally was born with those cells that were created with her in that fight or flight. So, what I've learned about myself, you know, really when I moved to New York, it all started, my yoga practice really started in New York. You do hard things in New York, like hot yoga in the summer in Manhattan.
Oof. on
Ooh,
a roof.
on a roof. Yeah.
And then I get yelled at for it.
But I feel like I did always have like little girl Katie always put myself in uncomfortable situations. And even if I didn't feel ready, I always was like a cheerleader for myself, which I think is a big part of becoming that for others in my life that I care about. But it really was like a mindset that I was like, I'm not ready, but I want this and I'm going to do it until I fail. But now I think I'm stepping into a little bit more of like my daddy energy. And I think that you're just really well planned out so that when you put things out there, it does land a little bit better than mine. I'm just like, oh, but at least I showed up. And I do think that people should be encouraged to show up. But once you start to really flex that muscle and get into your yoga practice, it is important. This is the period, the Virgo season, to plan the details. This is the energy that the seasons are bringing us. So it's really cool that you gave that advice because I think it is important because a big part of self sabotage is not preparing yourself for what it is that you're trying to bring to the world.
Yeah, but I also like, you saying like at least you showed up. Like that is super important as well because some people don't have the confidence to try new things, to try things for themselves. They're so scared of failing or what if I don't succeed at this? So I'm just never will try, so then I'll never fail. And that's also a mistake too. I have failed so many times, but it's like
What are
finding
some of
your
your
worth.
biggest failures?
Relationships. I
Really?
fail in relationships every time. I know my worth, but I've gone on sale and I've dated some people who didn't
Same.
deserve it.
That's so funny because that was actually one of my planned questions that I haven't really asked any of the planned questions. So go us, we're so authentic. But you're friends with all your exes. Like last year, I think it was your last birthday party. I swear to God, every corner I turned around, I was like chatting, catching up with one of Mark's exes. So I actually see that as another one of your strengths. Like you're great with relationships because even when it's over, they're like at your next one's wedding.
I
Okay,
know. I
you've
don't
never
have
been
the
married.
one. I don't have the one that got away. I have the one that won't leave.
You really do, but not just one, like 10.
Yeah.
Like, not even kidding, guys. Like, every room there was an exit. But yeah, I don't feel that way with mine. Like, big part of me, I used to, until like recently, this last year was very healing in the relationship department for me. But literally, like, just turned 39. And I feel like a year ago was when I started to like not carry so much guilt because I definitely went on sale too. I don't think that I have a lot of great exes that would be at my birthday party like yours. But I also hold a lot of guilt because I was just an unhealthy, unhealed, traumatized girl with daddy issues that sometimes it's like cringy what I used to do to my exes.
I also like don't be so hard on yourself. And this is gonna sound, I'm not sure how this is going to land, but I think the dynamic between a straight woman and a straight man is different than the dynamic of two gay men in a sense of morphing the relationship into a friendship. It's a little bit different.
True.
It's easier to be pals with. I feel it's just easier that way because I
Do you
always
think it's a little
feel
bit because of the emotions? Like women are so sad, or like they hate when you say that women are more emotional, but it's science. We are.
it has
You
nothing to do with the
don't think it's
women.
that?
Women are superior. If we're talking the traditional gender, like women 100% are the superior gender. Like that is not up for debate. Like
And when did
I
you become a
hope that
woman?
Kamala, I wish I was. I hope that Kamala's president because we need a woman leader. Like they are the paramount to our survival. But it's the straight men who I think are the roadblock. Not that I have anything wrong, like speaking of daddy issues, my dad is a straight man, believe it or not. But
Believe it or not.
straight men, I think, have a hard time with ego. And if they lose a woman, or even if they've chosen to leave the woman, it's hard for them to be friends because their ego isn't bruised if that woman were to go date another man. I feel like straight men don't have a lot of pastimes other than like the sports. They need hobbies. Straight men need more hobbies.
You heard
And
it from my dad.
no, this is nothing against straight men. I absolutely love straight men. Most of them are very great kissers from my experience. But
And
I
some
think,
straight men in the porn movies.
yeah, believe it or not, like a lot of
I've met
gay
some.
porn
One
is
one
has
time
straight
after we
men.
filmed, porn stars asked me on a date. And I was like, I mean, I'm open to it.
If I hadn't just saw you fuck this other man, it would have been more
I was
romantic.
like, I wish you would have asked before we filmed. Speaking of which, I
Yeah,
feel like how many times throughout our 20 years of friendship, okay, maybe like 15 because I wasn't always a porn star, have I asked for that damn link of the movies I've been in? You're probably like, if she asked me more time, could she just write it down? Like I need to put it in a Dropbox or something. But
it's so.
everybody, I'm a star.
I have filmed so many movies, like in the thousands. I have been doing this since 2008, so almost 20, like 17 years in this industry, and I'm doing like sometimes 10 scenes or at least a movie a month. So like calculate all that, and I'm like, I don't know what the
I'm like,
fuck
I
you
don't know.
did. I have no idea what it
It's
was
so funny.
called
I
and
was
where it
telling my
exists.
friend Seth about this because he didn't know. And then I was like, yeah, and when I tell guys on dates, they like get really weird and just like get quiet. And he just starts cracking up like that he thought it was
Straight
funny
men, they're a problem.
that I thought it was like I was like, well, it's not like I was actually having sex. I had a starring role. Like I dropped my purse. Like my husband was fucking another man. And people, a lot of straight men are just like, and it's ego. Like they get all weird about
The
that story. I was
ego.
like, honestly, this is such a little piece of how intense Katie is. And if you can't take this story, you will not be able to hang.
No, you have very little hands. Look at those hands.
But everyone says
Tiny.
that it's so
Do you
interesting that you've
do you
never noticed
drop
that.
things a lot?
Well, things do always feel bigger to these little hands.
Whoa, 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 whoa. That's TMI about the dates. Um, People don't also realize how unsexy a porn set is. Like I've had family members work for me. It's
It made me
that
throw up.
unsexy.
Yeah, I did not
It's
like
not
it.
throw up, but it's like more of a
Picture
comedy
that.
club. Like we're laughing the
Yes.
whole time. We're making jokes. We're talking about Drag Race. We're talking about like, oh girl, you see Melrose Place. Like
It's not what people think.
it's not at all what people think. If you want to get over your addiction to porn, go to a porn set. You'll be
It
cured
worked for
real
me.
quick. Yeah.
Thanks for bring your daughter to work day.
Thank you, Dr. Zismore.
Uh,
Yeah.
oh,
Speaking of the doctor, what's going on with you and this dentist that I last heard about? Has
oh
he
my
explored your
God.
cavities anymore?
I have an appointment as soon as he gets back from traveling. I have been keeping him in the know about the feedback of the show. You know, I just keeping in good communication. There's been a text here and there, but I wanted this is great that you brought this up. So I had this thought that I'm going to do this like Coffee and Crystals After Dark series. So I'm going to like, it will be kind of like Mikes and Men will actually be the name of this second show, but all these hot men are going to come to my house and they're going to think that they're going to be on Coffee and Crystals. But what they're really going to be is on this whole other show called Mikes and Men. What do you think?
I already love the title. Mikes and Men is a great title, and I think straight men need to be exposed.
Well, it's funny because my girlfriend, ooh, yeah, he wouldn't be listening to this because I don't want to offend the guy, but she was on a panel with this guy that we just like thought might be her future husband, like super hot, like the sexual tension. I couldn't wait for it. But she said that like him behind the mic, he was actually like really nervous and it was kind of a big ick for her because he like wasn't confident. I do feel like everybody's trying to be on a podcast right now. So how long have you been running your podcast?
So we're on season 3. We do 24 episodes a season, and then I don't know.
Is it like 3 years
Three or
now?
four, 3 or 4 years, because we also have the spin-off. Like, yeah, I would say 3 or 4 years. But that was born. The podcast was born off of like a web series that was similar to a podcast that was called Play, that started in like 2018 or 19. So it's kind of morphed into where it landed as a podcast in 2020 or 2021.
Do you feel why do you think it's important or why do you like having a podcast? Like what's your purpose of doing the podcast?
My purpose, like the podcast was presented to me. It wasn't, I didn't birth the idea. They asked me if I would do it. Um, and then I morphed it into what I wanted it to be, which was a bridge of pulp culture and porn. Like I obviously come from a porn background, but I love pulp culture. I love The Housewives. I love Drag Race. I love reality TV. I love Tan Mom. Like I love,
Wait, you
the
love
guy's
Tan
dick on
Mom?
the
Is that a thing?
Olympics. No,
Oh
Tan
my
Mom.
God, I love that. I
I
love that.
love
I watched
anything
that
that's
over
going
and
on in
over
pop
again.
culture, and I love to discuss it and dissect it and disseminate it. And I love keeping my finger on the pulse of pop culture and like pulling back the curtain and the foreskin and like what's going on. So that's why it's me and John Hill, and John Hill is Andy Cohen's co-host on Radio Andy. He comes, he was the producers of Bravo TV shows like Watch What Happens Live. So he brings the reality aspect and I bring the adult world aspect, even though my world is both now. I'm dealing with mainstream and adult worlds. And we just kind of like bring a housewife on with a porn star and we kind of bridge, we talk about a topic and we like bridge that gap of pop culture and porn. And I think it's that stigma that porn stars are just like you get on your dates. Like it's just, ugh, gross porn. But these people and these performers deserve their flowers too. Like they're great performers. They are acting. And so I love to like show them in a light that humanizes who they are and not just like as sex objects.
I think that that is an important thing, especially in this day and age when everybody has like an OnlyFans and, you know, the stigma that's behind that. But it's also like, how do you pick what model you're going to use? Like, that's like, I know I've been around you when you are thinking about it and thinking about who you're going to cast. Like, that seems to be something that you're like really passionate about, like the right person and the right role. And people always say when I'm around and you're filming, people always, when they find out that I'm your daughter, they want to make sure that I know that they just love working with you, that you're always the best director to be working for, that you always feed them well, they always have a great time. But how do you, is that a big part of your plan or does that stuff come to you? Like, I knew
Yeah,
I wanted the dentist on my show because he's hot and he, you know,
I think that
clearly.
what you're asking porn stars to do or porn actors to do on camera, they have to be very vulnerable. So when they're coming to work for the day, they are going to be in a very vulnerable state. They are stripping down naked and having sex in front of a crew. So you have to meet them where they are and like make sure that they feel very comfortable with what's going on and they explained what's going on. Make sure that everything, there's safety precautions of everything that we do. And you get the best work when someone is confident and secure. So your goal is to get them to feel confident and secure. And that's what the set that we provide. It's very non-judgmental. It allows them to put in their own creativity and you really just make them feel as comfortable as possible for what the day will bring.
I think that honestly, that's, and for anyone, I think that when you start to have really good sex, I feel like for me, the more confident I've become in my life, the better sex I have. So that's like obviously very
Mhm.
correlated. So anyone listening, like, I feel like there's a lot of people that actually struggle with having good sex. And why do you think that
A
is?
lot.
Do you think it is like that confidence piece? Like, what is it? What do you hear out there, Dad?
Well, let me tell you. I do think that a lot of people are afraid to talk about sex. They're afraid to talk about sex with their partner. Talk about it before you get into it. Get your head involved before your body is with your partner. Talk about, oh, what turns you on? What turns you off?
It's
Where
so
are
funny
your
because I was on a
erogenous
date with this
zones?
lawyer guy, and it did my first reaction because I think it was only like our no, maybe it was our second date, second actual date. And like it felt like an ick to me, but then I mentally just was like, is that old Katie, uncomfortable Katie? Like that's actually a pretty valid question to ask me, like how I like sex before we have sex. So do you think
Yeah,
that was
you don't want
right
to
for me
ask
to
that on a
catch
first
myself?
date.
Yeah, it
Like you
was
don't want
like
to be
this.
like,
It was
hey,
a
can I get
second
the
date, and I was like,
carpaccio and like
oh.
cunnilingus? Like give me a minute first.
Okay, so a second too soon. Do you think that's why I felt that way? It's
It
like,
depends on the dynamic. Like, for a gay man, like the first date is usually anal first, talk after. But like for a straight person or, more traditional courtship, yeah, but it's always like it's like if you're gonna get into a car. I know this is maybe triggering for you since you hate to drive, but you can get in a car and it will take you from point A to point B, or you can have someone sit down and give you the owner's manual and be like, "This is exactly how you drive this car." And then all of a sudden, oh shit, these seats warm up. Like there's features I didn't know that's happening right now, and then it will just like explode your mind into where you could go and what you could do. You will still get from point A to point B, hopefully, not always, but you'll have such a better driving experience or riding experience.
got it.
Talk about sex. People are so nervous and taboo to talk about sex. Talk about it with your partner.
Like
You
what
can't just
kind
be
of
expected.
questions?
Okay,
Like,
so you want to pretend we're on a date? Let's do it. Let's pretend we're on a
okay.
date and we're about to do the do. Oh,
So
you
I
look so
feel like
pretty
something
today,
that
Katie.
thanks.
Wow, you have really nice lips.
Thanks. I have
I
a great
bet you're a good
dentist.
kisser. What type of kissing do you like?
I love to kiss like slow movie scene-ish. Like I kind of like to
Yeah.
feel like I'm on the Notebook when I'm making out with someone.
Okay. Are your nipples sensitive?
Oh my God, so you're asking this because you know, Daddy.
Oh, they
Actually, I
are?
hate how sensitive they are. Sometimes
Hmm.
it's like uncomfortable to like and kind of embarrassing because it's just like guys want to touch your tits. And why are my nipples so sensitive? Is that a normal thing? I've asked my doctor,
I don't like
maybe the wrong
mine
ones.
played with either, so I can
Really?
relate. Like I don't, yeah, they're sensitive, but in a way that's like, no,
That's how I feel.
it's not, like it's more painful. Like, ow, get off that.
Literally, like I have literally texted guys the next day, like, whoa, you were really rough. And like their reaction to that is, I barely even touched them. And I was like,
Yeah.
really? Because that felt like some rough sex, titty sex.
Yeah, talk about it first. Let them know. These,
Like, don't hurt my nipples. They're cute,
yeah.
perky, and very
Hmm.
sensitive.
Yeah,
I
and
remember
then
my sister thought that was so funny because I told her that I like brought it up at my doctor and not my dentist, like my actual doctor, and was like trying to find out why. Like, why are my nipples so sensitive? And she didn't really have an answer for me. So I got to find another doctor to ask.
you gotta find another doctor. But yeah, we're just now getting like kissing and boob stuff. Like, continue the conversation down south and let them know like you want then. Like some people will like say, "Hey, did you like your ass eaten?"
Yeah.
Okay,
But
great.
I think that like, I don't think I always would have answered that way. Because I think it's like a confidence thing. Like the more you understand and like your body and what you like, the more you can talk about it. Because you've definitely
Hmm.
put me on the spot before to like have a conversation like this that I was like, never had a conversation like this with my dad before. So
People are very and like scared about having sex. I mean, as long you have to respect people's boundaries. You can't just like walk up in Trader Joe's and be like, "Hey, can I get these
that's what
eggs?
I'm
And do
doing
you like your
now.
ass eaten?" Like you gotta tie. There's a
Read the
time and
room.
place. Yeah, exactly. Read the room and make sure there's no one else in it.
And like, well, I guess it depends on what room we're out here, in
That's true. Hey,
California.
some people, the more the merrier.
Have you done that, Dad?
What?
The more the merrier. You're like,
No, I don't like groups. I'm not a big sharer with
yeah.
my lover. I
So
like a
are
one-on-one.
you're like really like okay with being single? I think for me, that's another like learning thing recently that I'm like very, very, very picky now. Not necessarily like I'll still have like fun and go to the buffet, but I mean, as far as like actually being my man, like I just never was to a point where I was picky or would like really like think about what it is that I wanted in a partner. I feel like you've always been that way. You've always been really good at setting boundaries. But then in the show, you said that you weren't good in relationships. So which one is it? Internally, you feel like you have a lot of growth to go in relationships.
I don't feel like I'm good at relationships in a sense that I'm not selfish, but I can be self-centered. Like sometimes, because I have so much going on my plate, that I may not always be able to check in on like where my partner's at and like where they're
Yeah.
at. Because on my list today, I have 26,000 things to do that I have to focus on. And it doesn't mean I'm not going to be there, but like sacrificing too much of that time means that, I can only keep so many balls up in the air at a time before I start licking some of them. Like you've got to be able to spend your time properly. So that's why I think because the plate is too full, like I
So this
can't.
is dad, this is what I feel like I'm struggling with now because I feel that way, but then there is this sense of like I barely sometimes feel like I have time to even like give Finley a proper long walk. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't have kids, I don't have a partner, I still am not where I want to be in my business. So like this is something that actually stresses me out now that I'm like, okay, I don't need to be with someone, but it would be nice to kind of have like regular sex or like have a partner. But then I'm also like, I don't have time for that. And some of my very first boyfriends broke up with me because I worked too much. And this is like when I was in high school and college, I was getting broken up with by guys because I worked too much. And now with like a focus and like an agenda of what I'm trying to do, I do think that like people like us, do we have to be with someone that's like us and is just as busy, or someone that really just can be a little unattached and okay that we're like really busy and kind of in our own world sometimes?
I don't know, and I don't care.
Okay, so that's the energy that I need. I don't
Yeah, I
care.
don't. It's not of interest to me right now. If it was, maybe I'd try to solve that problem, but it's not technically my problem. It's like too long didn't read. Like I'm not going to get involved in that sector of life right now because I don't have an interest. I have friends that double as like companionship where we can do stuff together and like go out, do activities. I love an activity.
You
So I
do.
have friends that I can spend time with. You make really good friends, and I don't. I sleep in bed with my dog, and she's just the cuddling I need.
She really is. Okay, well, I think that that might be helpful for people because for years I feel like you would be like telling me this, or I've had, I just wish that like people could understand that they just don't need to focus on that as much as I think that I did. And it came from abandonment issues as a child. We're laughing about the daddy issues, but as a young girl, when you also aren't growing up with a mother and you don't have a father, there are these like triggers that have, made me feel less than what almost made an imbalance of trying to overcompensate. Like I have to be in a relationship because that's what normal people have. They have a mom and a dad. They're getting married. They have kids. But I think that that's just like not something that people should be focusing on.
Well, I wouldn't go as far to say what people should and shouldn't be focusing on. Like everybody's different, just like the flowers growing in different soil. Everybody's going to have different needs and different desires and different likes. That's why Baskin Robbins got 31 flavors because we all like something different and we all need something different. So what may work for me won't work for the next person. And it doesn't mean like I'm not being sanctimonious, like I'm not perfect and judging anyone else. It's just this is what I have found works for me.
Switching gears, this is like a year of financial growth for me. And you had mentioned earlier, which is also part of Virgo season, is just like you mentioned that you always like to be learning and growing, and you get that a lot in New York. It's definitely something that I've liked with yoga practice, or just like I'm always reading something about self help or development or research for the podcast. Like, what topic am I going to talk about, and how can I educate myself even more? Like, what do you feel like in the financial realm has been some of your biggest tips with owning your own businesses and traveling around the world? Like that takes abundance. So what do you think that you've done financially that you could give to someone for advice that wants to live a life that you live?
There's two different ways to take that question. I think in terms of growth and growth specifically financially, you have to have a very good base. And speaking of traveling the world, like we did that this year with this series that we called Global Entry, where we started in South Africa. We went to Sicily, Portugal, Mexico City, Scotland, the Caribbean. I think we might be going to Japan and Australia this year too. And we're just exploring different cultures. It was birthed out of when I went to South Africa for my 40th with Bianca Del Rio. And he was selling out these giant theaters in Cape Town and Johannesburg. And there was this gigantic gay community I didn't know existed in South Africa. So I was like, wow, there's these pockets of people that I can learn from and experience all over the world. Let's go all over the world and experience these people and grow my knowledge and grow my target base. So that and in return grew financially because the projects that I was doing, I was more passionate about, and it was an untapped market of like these guys from all over the world that would never have done movies before. So my biggest thing, my advice would be just to get out there, step away from where you're at and see how you can grow personally because then the money should follow. but it's not guaranteed. It's a risk. I am terrible with money.
Yeah,
I know
you said that to me recently when you were in LA and you're like, oh, I'm not good with money. All this rent I spent on my house, I could have had $1 million house by now. And I was like, I guess if
oh,
you think of it
millions
that
of
way.
dollars. I spend so much money on rent and like so much money on lots of different things.
But this
That
might be the unlock, Mark. Recently, what I've been listening to in a lot of podcasts is people say, which I think I struggled with because I was in that survival mode, that even when I was making money, I was like still thinking of money in like a fear based thing, like gotta save money, but that's telling your body that more money isn't coming. You're like saving is good, everyone on
mm,
Coffee Crystals. Make sure you have 401k, do all the things, the investment's cool. But I think when you focus too much on like making the money or saving the money, that is, you're acting out of fear and worry, and that's
mm,
never something that I feel like you give that energy. You're just like, if you want to do something, you make it happen. And it's like, yes, sometimes that means that you gotta throw down your Amex, but you are kind of like staying in that abundant mindset. You've always been like that ever since I met you.
I think we're hustlers. Me and you are both hustlers. We work and we love working. So it because I love working, it kind of gives me an arrogance in the sense that sure, I can spend it because I'm going to make it back. Like you have confidence in your ability and your confidence in how hard you're willing to work. Like if I lost it all today and I needed to go get a job at the Olive Garden, I would love it. I love their soup
You would
salads and
love
breast
that.
sticks, and I would fucking dive right in to a
Remember when
lunch
you told
special
me
to
your
wherever they live.
tattoo was the lasagna recipe and I believed you?
Yeah, that's the recipe to the
Wait, is it
lasagna
really though?
at.
Because now I don't know with you.
Yeah, I
I know
can't
nothing
really.
about
I'm trying
you.
to like push my arm in
I
a way
was
where you
like,
could like
put it
see
down.
it. I'm not making a muscle. I'm just like trying to show you.
Is that really? That is so straight of you. So really,
You like
that
your
was not the
nipples touched, girl?
recipe. Yikes! From a porn director, daddy.
Yeah, it's like you don't compare yourself to anybody else in terms of money. Like I'm making nowhere near the money that I could be making. I'm nowhere near like, the big, the big, the big dudes. But I'm
You
super
say
happy
that, but
with
you're
where
very
I'm
successful.
at.
But that's another thing that I wanted. I was talking to Kelly, and these words came out of my mouth, and I was like, I think I'm going to ask Mark about that because I don't like that. That was my thought process, but sometimes when I end up working too much for other people and not doing what I really want to do on a daily basis, and I know I'm not alone here, so many people listening I
Mm,
know have this issue. Are there days, even when you're doing what you love, that you like don't want to go to work? And does it ever happen consecutively? Because that's what I struggle with. Like, there are so many times that I am just like driving to work wishing that I didn't have to do that. And I was talking to Kelly, and she's like, I don't feel that way, but like my concerns are a little bit different than yours because they own their own both their businesses, and the work she does is like it's her business. But it's similar to what you said. Don't compare yourself to other people. But I wanted to get your opinion on this because I know you always quote your dad, and it's like if you do something you love, you never work a day in your life. But like I don't consecutively feel like I feel that way. So do you feel that way like throughout your career and like right now in your chapter? Do you feel like every day you're loving what you do?
yes. Yeah, I do. There
Do you
there
think that that's a
are
problem?
moments. Not a problem because there are moments that I don't love, but I've gotten to the point where I'm able to pick and choose my projects. So I pick and choose what I'm passionate about and what I'm excited to make. And I love being creative, so I love making something. So I just am very grateful that anybody is even asking me to make stuff
Beyond
for
coffee and
them.
crystals.
Yeah, exactly. Super grateful to be here. Super grateful to be in your presence as usual. But in terms of not liking what you do on consecutive days, my advice would be get out.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Gotta move.
You gotta move. You shouldn't. That's like you said, like I take that line from my father, who's a fisherman, who said, he's always told me he's never worked a day in his life because he loves fishing so much and he found a way to make a good living out of it. So that's not for everyone, If you're sitting at home and you're thinking, God, I really don't love working at Staples. but that's your job right now.
Yeah.
And I've had jobs like that I'm like, I don't love doing this. So just because if you're in a place right now that you don't love it every day, you have to find where your path is going to get to a point where you do love it every day. I'm 41 now, so it took a long time for me to get to a place where I did love what I do every day. It took a lot of like bullshit and hard work of not loving it. So if you're in a place where you don't love it, it gets better.
Moved to New
Like
York.
move, well, don't move to New York because we're really crowded right now. I'm just kidding.
Alabama.
Go to Alabama. That's where I'd say. No, it's just work towards what you want. Find out what you want. What makes you happy? When throughout the day are you the happiest? What are you doing? When in your time off are you the happiest? What are you doing? What at work, even if you don't like the job, makes you the happiest? And try to combine as much of your happy time together in a career and work towards that.
Beautiful moment. What would you say that you feel like your purpose is in the world? Or do you think about that? Or have you thought about your purpose here in this form, in this muscular, sexy body?
What is my purpose? I don't think any of us know. I don't think any of us know.
Interesting.
Like, you don't know how I felt about you till I vocalized it. We don't know how we affect other people. And our purposes is not so self-centered as we like to think. Our purpose may be to like be somebody else's rock. Our purpose may be to be somebody else's inspiration. It may not be based on us like we think it is. Like, oh, like, well, my purpose is to make people laugh. My purpose is to do that. It may be just to help grow the community, grow for the better. Like, there's a lot of human beings out there, and we're all just like getting by. We're all just like doing our best to continue on, and you don't know whenever it's going to end. So our purpose is to get there as a group. Like, humanity has to be, we had to help each other.
Marc Manali for president.
No, I would never.
I'd be okay
My
with it.
purpose is not to
I'd be like,
do
you
politics.
got this whole country management thing. I'm about to go get a massage.
I don't think they allow presidents to smoke pot, and I do. That's something that
uh,
like.
yeah, they don't
I don't drink.
they don't let Travis Matthew recruiters smoke pot. That's
No,
why
but
I
see,
was
that's
fired.
like you have to find like alcohol doesn't work for me. I don't like alcohol. I've never tried coke or any other type of drugs, but like weed calms down this brain that is constantly in rotation of thinking ideas and doing something. So, like on today, which is technically like my day off, even though I was like, oh God, a million things for this goddamn show that we're doing. Like it's important to find that peace in that moment to like slow down before you burn.
And that is the season. It's Virgo season got brought up
Season.
again. It's time to slow down, y'all, because
But
Christmas is
speaking
coming.
of Beyonce, it's Virgo season.
Exactly. Well, we're going to wrap it up. Is there anything that you wanted to ask me or anything that you thought I was going to ask you that you want to bring up to the Coffee and Crystal community, support the
Yeah, I
community?
want to go back to the sex talk. What do you feel like your best sexual talent is?
That's such a great question. I feel like stamina because I love having sex. And I feel like that's like one of my favorite things about being in a relationship is like more consistent, like daily sex. So I think that that's something that I like boyfriends in the past or guys I've dated, like they've struggled with like their girlfriend not wanting to have sex. And I'm like more like annoying. Like I'm more like, I'm a little creepy. It's probably because you're my father.
Raised you well. Good to know. She can handle a lot, y'all. She's got the stamina.
She's got the stamina. I'm a marathon runner.
Yeah, work.
Work. Anything else?
Now I'm crispy clear. Now I know.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I love
I
you.
love you more, and I thank all of you who are listening to this know how much I love you. Because if you love Katie and if you listen to her and you follow her advice, you're in a good place. She will lead you in the right way. Every way is Katie way.
Love that. Another tweetable moment. Make sure everyone tweets that. All right. See you at home, babes.
Bye. Love you.
Bye. Get to work.
Bitch.
How do you turn this off?